Today, I have tea, figuratively and literally. I'm going to be doing a story time about how I got stuck on the runway during Fashion Week. Okay, so first of all, if you happen to be someone that was actually subscribed to my channel from way back when and you're like, where is she going with this? A lot has changed since I first started this channel. And if you're new here, please just hang in there. Back then, I was revising for my A-levels and getting ready to go to uni. The plan was to do architecture. Newsflash, I didn't do architecture. I now work at GQ magazine and I interview celebrities on a regular basis at red carpet events, film premieres, fashion week. I'm not gonna give too many specifics, even though the show happened and nothing went wrong per se, except for the fact that I got stuck on the runway. But I'm at one of the shows, so far so good. Tried to get some interviews from people. Members of the actual designers team are kind of going around like, hey everyone, the show's about to start. And I was like, cool. In the middle of this interview though, so I'm just gonna try and finish it up as quickly as possible. I was also working with a freelancer, so both of us were interviewing this celebrity at the same time. So this interview is happening. This tea, by the way, is from Wittard. I think this one is the Covent Garden blend. Just a classic black tea, which now that I think about it, at 5 p.m. is probably not a good idea to have a whole pot. So we're gradually getting through this interview and then all of a sudden the lights turned down and then the whole place just went quiet and we were like, uh-oh. So this runway was actually happening across 2 floors. So there were people seated on both floors and there were steps going in between. But the second floor and the way in was on the ground floor. Take a wild guess. We were doing the interview on the floor above. Lights are dimmed, everyone's quiet, and then the music starts and we're like, oh dear. Such a time of panic, what do? You go back the way you came. Then we got to the in-between bit between the first floor and the ground floor. Take a quick peek downstairs. It's also people just sitting down waiting for the show to start. And I was like, there is no way I am going down there. It would have just been too much of a disruption, in my opinion. So what did we do in the end? We just crouched in the corner on the staircase, like weirdos. It was just one of those moments where I was like, how did I end up here? Another thing to mention is that before I started working at GQ, I was modeling properly for a few years and I've actually happened to walk for this designer. So already I'm feeling like a complete goofball because I'm like, if the designer catches me on the staircase in the middle of her show, what will she think of me? There was someone on the staircase where me and the person I was freelancing with were crouched in the corner. I honestly thought we were gonna get an ass whipping from this lady, but I think because of the camera, and obviously I was wearing black, I think she thought that we were actually supposed to be there. We were not. And then she turned to us and she was like, oh, hopefully I'm not in the way. And I was like, girl. And as the models were passing, we got some very, 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 very confused looks because from my experience, and just from pure common sense, there is always a rehearsal before a runway show. The rehearsal lets the models practice, first of all, in their shoes, because one thing about designers in the 2020s, they love a complicated shoe that you can potentially trip in. So it's important to get comfortable and used to walking in those before the show starts. But also at a show like that show and some of the ones that I've walked before, the choreography, which is what they say to describe the way that you walk the runway. These days, sometimes you'll leave the building, come back into the building, you'll go upstairs, go downstairs. The rehearsal is really important. And models are also told where all of the cameras are going to be. Obviously, you want to look your best in the runway video. So they tell you, this is where the photographers are going to be, and there's also going to be someone doing video over here, someone doing video over there. And when you do the rehearsal, you actually see them as you're walking. Put 2 and 2 together. Obviously, we were not at the rehearsal and we were a surprise to a lot of the models. It's not easy to look good going downstairs and trying not to trip. Props to them. So we just had our very own in-between floors, front row experience, and it was great. So the show ended, everyone got up from their seats. I met Kelly Rutherford, which was iconic because I don't know how many times I've watched Gossip Girl now, but she is just a fave. I don't really know if there's a takeaway from this video. It's probably not going to be the last silly story time knowing me because I always just end up in silly situations. I don't even know if I'll post this. If I do, then hopefully you enjoyed this video, but stay tuned for more videos because they are in the pipeline.